It's Saturday, you know what's up. My radio, I turn it up. PFW, 10:30 a.m. You can go and tell your friends that you're on the radio with the diva. It's Saturday, you know what's up. On the radio with the diva. 10:30 a.m. Gonna tell your friends that you're on the radio with the diva.
You discover faith for the journey. I'm talking strength for the mission. Right here with Stephanie Dixon. Inspirational Diva. This one for all my believers. How you learning and living right here with Stephanie Dixon.
She has it all.
Real talk, real faith, real truth.
Got it all.
Got the news, got the hits, got the scoop.
Got it all.
This the Inspirational Diva.
You can only tell your friends that you're on the radio with the diva.
It's your girl Stephanie C. Dixon, the Inspirational Diva, host of the Inspirational Diva Show, brought to you by Home Care Network, bringing healthcare home. And I want to kick a shout out to Home Care Network because they were one of the vendors at the City of Lancaster's Health and Wellness Experience Open House. And there were so many other vendors there. They were talking about different types of healthcare. They had a panel there that was talking about COVID and so much information regarding COVID-19. And we have one of those panelists with us today, and that is Miss Debrah North. And we're going to be talking to her in just a few minutes. But I also want to remind the listeners that this is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And it is also Domestic Violence Awareness Month. So if you follow me on Facebook at the Inspirational Diva Show, you will see that I will be putting out information. There's some things that you should know about both awarenesses, the breast cancer awareness, as well as Domestic Violence Awareness Month, because we do know that statistics have shown that since the pandemic, there has been a rise in domestic violence. So I'll be putting some information out there. If you or someone you know are in a domestic violence situation, there are places that you can call to get out, because we want everybody to live a happy, prosperous, and productive life. All right. And don't forget, men. I have to say this every year, ever since I found out, men get breast cancer too. So make sure, men, you go get your boobies checked, just like the ladies have to do. Right, Ms. North?
Absolutely.
That's right. So men, we want you to go and get yourself checked, especially if you have a history of breast cancer awareness in your family. It could be your aunt, your grandmother, your mom. If anyone in your family has breast cancer, then you definitely want to get yourself checked. And we will also have later on this month, Mr. Cliff Armstead, who has been on the show before, and he had breast cancer. And so he's going to talk about his journey with that, and then also encourage the men to go out and get tested. But right now, we have our special guest, Miss Debrah North, and she is the founder of Growth Strategies. And I met Miss North actually at an event on last week, I believe, a week before last, and then we saw each other again at the City of Lancaster's Health and Wellness Experience Open House. And so she's going to talk to you about affordable health care, and she's also going to talk about health care and disability and health disability care. Oh, she'll say it the right way, especially for women. And so we want to go ahead and get this conversation started, because she's going to give us a lot of great information. So Ms. North, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, Stephanie. Miss Diva, it's so good to be here. Thank you for inviting me to the show today.
Thank you for accepting the invitation to be here. And let me say something since you said that. It is so funny because one of the guests at the event this Saturday, he said, I want you on Facebook, and I want to know, where did this diva come from? He said, I think you walking around here thinking you all that. I said, well, no, that's not it. So he asked me, where did it come from? So let me explain this really quick.
Okay.
I used to model, and the person that I modeled under, he called all of the female ladies divas, and he called all of the men gents. So for some reason, diva just stuck with me. Even when I wasn't modeling anymore, people were so used to him saying diva Stephanie, people just started calling me diva. So it just stayed with me. So even when I was trying to get people to stop calling me that, my son said, Mama, no, just go ahead and do something with it, since everybody still call you diva. So I started Styling Diva Productions, which is my my company. And so when I started my radio show, I had the listeners to come up with a name for the show. Well, one of my listeners she knew me from modeling. And so she said the Inspirational Diva Show, because they say I always give everybody out of this inspiration. And so I had the listeners to vote on it, and they voted for the Inspirational Diva Show. So that's how it came about. So no, I'm not walking around thinking I'm all that. We all should. But that's where the Inspirational Diva Show came from. So now I hope if he's listening, that answers your question.
It's very fitting, Stephanie. Very fitting.
Thank you. So how are you doing today?
I am doing well. I am doing very well. Thank you so much for asking.
Definitely, definitely. Well, Miss North, it was such a pleasure meeting you the first time that I met you. And I mean, when I met you, I can tell that you are passionate about your business, about growth strategies, because even in our first meeting, you started talking about healthcare, affordable healthcare. And then to hear what you had to say at the Health and Wellness Experience Open House in Lancaster, Texas on this past weekend, I'm like, she's very passionate about what she is doing, and to have you on the show to talk to the listeners about it, and as you said, especially the women. So just kind of tell us a little bit about growth strategies and what you do with it.
Thank you. What I do with growth strategies at this time is around personal development advisor facilitation. What that looks like, Stephanie, is this. As women, we are allowed to be ourselves, but yet there are so many titles that we respond to or roles that we have that we tend to lose our identity in that. And because of that, we tend to lose control, if you will, even over our finances, our financial life, because as you heard me on Saturday talk about, I can check off all the check marks there about single, married, divorced, remarried, mother. Those are all the roles that I have fit, but I also talk about how that encompasses us as looking at the total woman. And we need to take a look at how that impacts us, even from a financial and health perspective. So what I do with growth strategy is all about growth. We've heard we grow people, the taglines, but the question is, where I take it a little deeper for us to connect, is how are you growing?
Wow.
Are you growing like a weed, or are you growing to thrive? Are you just growing to survive? Or are you growing in the sense the way God designed us to thrive and prosper?
Right.
So
That's a good way of looking at it.
So the work that I do is that I tie that all in with, first, it goes with the mindset. Mm-hmm. What is your mindset? First of all, the relationship with yourself, with money, and with health. Because, we as women, we are taught from early on to be that caregiver. We're taught that we should choose the traditional path of marriage. We are taught the traditional path of having children. But as you know, as life happens and things happen unexpectedly, sometimes those traditional paths are not right for us. So it's good to carve out what that path is for you that God has designed. So I take women through that path to first identify that, and then kind of connect that to, where your treasure is where your heart is.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, where your treasure is where your heart is. And we both know that money is a key, because, and I told you Saturday, I kind of joke with it, with what I do because of the seriousness of it, but I help people protect their moneymaker.
Right. Protect that moneymaker, people.
Protect your moneymaker.
Right.
And here's what that means is this. Each one of us, with God willing, that we can wake up every day and we go out to make that living, to earn a living. But if something happens to us where we become too sick or injured or incapacitated to where we can't go, what happens? So we have to put in some protections there in order to make sure that everything is in place to get us back up and going, get us whole, and get us healthy.
So talk to us, talk to the listeners about some of those protections, especially for self-employed people such as myself. I'm self-employed, and I know for years I did not have any type of disability. There was a time where I had to have surgery. I had no disability, insurance on me, just medical, because those things can be kind of costly for an individual that's self-employed. So kind of talk to us about some of those protections that we need to have.
Okay, certainly. Yes, Stephanie, if I may, I want to start out with some facts here. And this is for women, specifically for women. 47% of women fear declining health that requires long-term care. 47%. 64% of long-term care insurance claims were paid to women in 2018. I'm going to say that one more time. 47% of women feared declining health that will require long-term care, and 64% of long-term care claims were paid to women. Get this, $10.3 billion in long-term care insurance claims were paid to more than 303,000 individuals. I'm so glad that Home Network is one of the ads you mentioned this morning, one of the companies, because I want to tie that all together. I want to tie in about breast cancer. I want to tie in about domestic violence. And I'll definitely answer your question as a business owner, how this all ties in, how this is important to you. Starting with, you're a business owner. So you have day-to-day demands that the business requires of you. You're responsible for not only growing the company, you're also responsible for how you're going to be presented in the marketplace, how you're going to be, I don't like to say competitive because there's enough for everybody, but you have your certain part, your position that your business offers. And you're also responsible if you're hiring individuals to help you, your employees, that you got to look out for their well-being as well. Making sure, especially in this pandemic, you have to look out for their health and also look out for their financial well-being. Being that Texas is an at-will state, not all businesses offer health, any kind of volunteer benefits. So what this means for you, just as a self-employed, you got all these demands on you, which can, in a sense, take a toll on you or cause additional stress, I would say. So in order to put that protection in, I like to call it like what I do, like an architect or a surgeon. My mother studied medicine, but I love it as a surgeon piece, because here's where I come in. I come in taking a look at what's going on with you, especially with a business. What has been your pain points? What's keeping you up at night? Is it concerned about your employees? Is it concerned about how you're going to reach the masses? What's keeping you up at night that could be causing potential stresses? If you don't have that revenue coming in, who are you dependent on to, you need to go to the doctor because you're starting to notice some things that's happening. If you don't have any coverage in place, what I like to do is let's look at the foundation. What does that look like?
And real quick, I want to reiterate, there have been times that I've heard of people not wanting to go to the doctor because they don't have anything in place. They don't have any insurance in place. They may not have the money, to pay out of pocket. So do you see that a lot, especially with self-employed people?
Absolutely. But you know what I really see is with individuals, it's not so much they don't have the money. Some, if they're single, they may still be working a full-time job to get those benefits. So they have that option there. Some may be married, so they're on their spouse's insurance. But for individuals that are maybe starting out as solopreneurs, what they have sacrificed is not having coverage because they're busy on building their brand and, other focuses that have distracted them. But they do have available to them. Parkland is a wonderful resource that offers low cost, maybe no cost at all, in regards to getting care in that manner. Texas Health and Resources, that's another one that individuals can reach out to get that kind of coverage. You also have private plans and plans on the exchange, which we know is ACA or Obamacare. And that in itself, that's a whole complex system, if you will, to even try to understand how does one qualify for that type of business, especially for zero deductibles. And let's not get into the deductibles, Stephanie, because you have high deductibles, which kind of price people out. So there are solutions there. Matter of fact, one company that I contract with, they offer Life Bridge. Life Bridge is in regards to life insurance, for those who can't afford life insurance. They offer free life insurance to those individuals, and they pay the premiums for them. So there's options there that we can take a look at to get affordable care. The carriers that I work with are your top carriers that are well-known nationwide and some global, like United Healthcare, Blue Cross Blue Shield, Aetna, Cigna, or some of those top carriers that I exclusively choose to work with. Because I don't work with everybody. I'm about working with the best.
Right, that's good. You want the best for your customers. So
Absolutely.
what specifically can you encourage the self-employed woman to get if she has absolutely no medical or no life insurance? What services do you offer that you could help them with?
Absolutely. Matter of fact, I actually have a young lady for that very reason. She didn't have anything. She didn't have anything. She came from a corporate background, so she ended up leaving those benefits behind. Yet, what I do encourage is to take a look at this and to understand this clearly. When you are still employed, before you make that transition over into being self-employed, sign up for everything that your company offers. But understand this, that they are paying 50% and you're paying 50%. So the discounts that you're enjoying that's being payroll deducted out of your check, yes, it's easy to get comfortable with that. But if the company goes in a different direction, or you voluntarily or involuntarily are leaving that company, which is a severance package for those that can get it, some don't, but those do. Understand this, your employer is going to say, okay, we're going to offer you COBRA, so we're going to pass our 50% on to you. So now you're going to be looking at potentially 102%.
Wow.
In order to continue that coverage you had with your employer. But if you don't have that in place, here's what I've suggested again, getting that foundation, get the protection done, starting with now on the market, you have available short-term medical, you have disability, you have critical illness, as well as accident and health. I would say focus on getting health first. Get health first. All the other insurances will come into play as we see and determine the affordability. But definitely get health first. Because again, what are we doing? Taking care of this moneymaker.
Good. And just I just kind of, someone else and I, we were talking about this. years ago, I remember my mom had insurance on all the kids and the grandkids, and the insurance man would come by and get the payment. And somewhere along the way, we stopped doing that. Why do you think that may be, Miss North?
Because the technology changes. Technology has disrupted our way of life. I think you and I can both remember when the insurance agent would actually come to our house and pick up mama's or grandmama's insurance payment, or she would actually, or your grandfather would actually go into to make that premium payment. And they got a little book assigned to them, right? But now you have so many options, especially with technology. Yes, for those that like that type of service, agents are still available, but also too, you have those that are tech savvy, where they only want questions, they'll research it out for themselves, and they want the ability for the convenience to make things easy and simplified, where they'll go online and buy insurance, or they may call that 800 number to get insurance. So technology has really disrupted our lives that made that change.
But even if they're doing that, to at least have a desire to want to get insurance is really good, because what I'm saying is a lot of people don't want insurance. Like we were talking the other day, a lot of people don't want to talk about death. They don't want to get, a life insurance. They don't want to do a pre-need. They don't want to talk about it. I just kind of want to know where the decline came in, because so often nowadays we see that a person passes, they didn't have any plans, they didn't have a will, they didn't have any insurance, and then boom, there's a GoFundMe set up for them. Now, I'm not saying there's anything against, I don't have anything against GoFundMe if that's what you need to do. But how can we encourage people, Ms. North, to just make that move, to go and talk to someone, to get life insurance, to get medical insurance, to have pre-needs and death policies put together? I know it doesn't sound right. We don't want to talk about death, but people die. And you don't want to leave that burden on your family to try to find a way to bury you, or even if it's not death, if you just end up in the hospital. Some people don't have what they call living wills, or no power of attorneys or anything like that. So can you talk about that? And we're going to talk about that when we come back from this break. We have to take a break, but you're listening to the Inspirational Diva Show, and I'm your girl, Stephanie C. Dixon, the Inspirational Diva, and we are here with my guest, Miss Debrah North of Growth Strategies, and we'll be right back.
Home Care Network brings healthcare in the comfort of your home. Our skilled nurses can cover everything that you would get in a hospital, from wound care management, pulmonary and cardiac care, medication management, and physical, occupational, speech therapy, x-rays, and more. Home Care Network has 3 locations in DeSoto, Rockwall, and Palestine. Visit homecarenetwork.com or on Facebook at Home Care Network TX. Home Care Network, the care you need in the comfort of your home.
I'm back, your girl Stephanie C. Dixon, the Inspirational Diva, and you are tuned into the Inspirational Diva Show, brought to you by Home Care Network, bringing healthcare home. Now, our guest today is Miss Debrah North of Growth Strategies, and before we went to break, we were just I just wanted her to come back and just kind of talk about how we can encourage the listeners to get different insurance policies and the importance of it, to get medical, to get a living will, to get pre-needs, and just prepare for what could happen. So, Ms. North, can you just kind of talk to the listeners about that?
Absolutely. And this is going to be twofold.
Okay.
So stay with me.
Okay.
Because we're dealing with individuals, and then we're also dealing with business owners.
Okay.
I'll talk with the business owners first.
Okay.
One of the things that I've seen in just my relationships with CPAs and business attorneys is what I hear at top of mind, their frustration with their clients. And that is the business owner needs a buy-sell agreement in place.
Okay.
Are you familiar with the buy-sell agreement?
I am not.
Most people aren't, but here's what it does for you.
Mm-hmm.
You have to think about the continuation of your business. What does that look like? Because as you have a birthday each year, how long do you plan on working before you decide to enjoy the fruits of your labor?
Right.
And go enjoy retirement or whatever else you're going to do? Do you plan to stay into the business until they carry you out? Or are you thinking about if you want to sell the business, or if you have a partner? If especially in partner situations, if you become disabled or even divorced, will that partner need to buy you out? And if so, are they going to tap into the revenue of the business? Or here's what's very valuable to the business, what I offer here. You can use a life insurance policy or a disability policy. What that does is, it's so good. It safeguards what we call succession planning in case of a long-term disability of the business owner. And it's a contracted buyout of their interests. So that way, if you all, whether single or if you're in a partnership, if you're thinking about buying out or selling the business, because we know merger and acquisitions happen all the time. And we also think about, if it's a family-owned business, who have you tapped to take over the business? We have to think in that mindset.
Right.
So if you're looking at who's going to take over the business, what that looks like on the books when it comes to the balance sheet, is it going to be attractive to those potential buyers?
Right.
Because keep in mind, the young ones, they're looking to flip a company in a minute. But in order to make that business look attractive to the investors, everything has to be in order, especially that revenue, the dollars. And if they've hired somebody, how are you taking care of your employees? Because you got those benefits in place. So that's one of the things about the importance of a buy-sell agreement using life and disability insurance there. That's top priority. If you don't do anything else, in addition to the health. For the individuals, what that looks like is this, to have that conversation. We're in a pandemic right now, and we've seen fatalities, and we've also seen people who survived COVID, but yet they're still having challenges there. I'm glad you brought up domestic violence awareness. Did you all know that if that spouse or if that significant other gets physically injured, where they actually survive an assault, that's a disability. That is a disability. So it behooves you to have a supplemental disability policy in place, because they're not going to be able to go back to work. They're not going to be able to go back to work. And usually the job requires that you have 3 days and you get back to work. Or you've exhausted your sick time and vacation time. But you're not in a position to go back to work, especially if you got bruises that are visible. Even with a breast cancer survivor, they didn't expect to be diagnosed with cancer. How are you going to take care of yourself? How are you going to take care of your family? And let's put some numbers around that. Do you know your life, Stephanie, my life, the value of human life is $10 million?
I didn't know.
Yes. And trust me when I say this, not only is your company looking at that, investors are looking at that, but healthcare is looking at that. Because what does it cost the hospital, your doctors, your specialists, your medications? That all has a number with it. And we've heard recently about the 71-year-old man who got a bill for COVID, and that was $1.2 million. $1.2 million. So you better believe everybody is looking at that number of what your value is because that's going to determine what your coverage is going to be. Now, let me continue that, Stephanie. Let me continue that. Also, it's how we eat. Yes, we love our chitlins. Yes, we love our soul food, but is it good for you? Because that's going to also impact what you pay in terms of insurance premiums, whether it's health, life, disability, you name it. Of course, everybody wants you healthy, including your car insurance company. Everybody wants you healthy because you will have a favorable rate. Now, because
excuse me, right quick. It's amazing that you said that, because as I was updating my insurance a few months ago, and my husband was sitting there, my agent was asking me all these different questions. And so my husband said, all right, the way you answer those questions will let you know how high your insurance policy, premiums will be. And when you said that, it just made me think about that. Fortunately enough, I don't eat really bad or anything, but they were asking those different type of questions. That's why they ask, do you smoke? Do you drink? And things of that nature. Have you been to the hospital? Have you fallen? They ask all of these questions now, and that's so they can know how your rates will be.
Absolutely. And in our culture, the brown and Black culture, what's number one? Diabetes, high blood pressure, heart attacks, strokes. Those are the top 4, if you will, that could have someone automatically decline for coverage. So they may not have a choice but to do a GoFundMe. But there are alternatives there. There are alternatives. And the products are improving all the time because we have critical illness policies that cover those top 4 or 5 regarding the heart attacks. I also have insurance coverage where I can place hard to place cases because of those insurance or health challenges, if you will. I have an example of a business owner. She applied for a collateral loan. And, with these PPP loans that all these business owners went to run and get, there's going to come a time when there's going to be collected there. So in this particular case, she's expanding her business and she needed $1.2 million. Well, what happened early on was that she had a injury to where, unfortunately, she did get addicted to the opioids. So that caused her to go into rehab. But this was for a past injury. So because her business was only valued at probably $3 million, but she's asking for a $10 million loan, most of the traditional carriers are not going to cover her. So what we were able to put in place for her was a carrier that handles those type of cases, and they were able to get her the collateral assignment she needed to get that loan. And they took into consideration, things happen. She didn't look to get addicted to those painkillers to treat that past injury, because some companies do look at pre-existing conditions.
Wow. Yeah, they do.
So that's why I say disability and health, disability and health. So those are some of the reasons as far as individual. Also keep in mind, not only what you eat, but also take into consideration, you built up everything and everything is going great, and you have kids. And kids, they may have aspirations to drive, of course, those young teenage drivers. And yet one night they go out with their friends, and unfortunately, they're in an accident. Not a fatality, but they're disabled. What are you going to tap into to cover that? Because it could be a gap that could impact you catastrophically in a financial way. Because we've been hit with this pandemic in such a way. One thing I also want to point out too with this GoFundMe, which is key. We mentioned about our grandparents, our parents, how they had policies on us. How far do you think how far $3,000 is going to go? $5,000 on a life policy, which they probably paid for over 50 years,
Wow.
you know? But how far is that going to go? Because the average funeral cost today, and just to get cremated, is over $8,000.
Wow.
And if we haven't even gotten to the service, we haven't gotten to, and so you're going to find most people from an affordability standpoint, Stephanie, you know, Black people don't believe in getting cremated. You know this. We believe in the traditional. If you Baptist, you know it. We want that burial service. We want the 2 police escort. We want to go out in style.
Yes.
We want the casket. We want it laid out.
Right.
Well, if you only got a $3,000 policy, but the whole service that you want is going to cost you $40,000, then yeah, you're probably looking at a GoFundMe. And again, we're not knocking that, but sometimes if that's what's needed to help, then that's what's available to you. But we can offer better options.
And that's why it is so important to pre-plan these things, to plan.
Absolutely.
It's
Absolutely.
to do that. So, Debrah, if someone wanted to get in contact with you, but before we do that, before we give contact information, and now tell me if I'm saying this incorrectly, but I believe you told me that you have a carrier or a policy for persons that have had COVID that may have some, lingering effects or whatever. So talk about that.
Yeah, what I can talk about is I'm excited about that at this time because carriers did not know. It blindsided them too.
Mm-hmm.
They had no clue how this was going to impact, how they were going to cover. I'm on the phone and saying, hey, how are we looking at COVID right now? Is it a pre-existing condition? What do I tell my clients? And they're like, business as usual, just have them to submit an application. What that looks like is this. Most carriers are trying to figure out now how to cover this, and it's considered an infectious disease. The product I have right now on the market is only being introduced now as group coverage. So what I'm encouraging employees, those that are in the work site, if your employer not offering infectious disease coverage that includes COVID, contact me. If you're a business and you have at least 5 employees or more, and you want to retain the talent that you have because they are essential workers and they're in this day in and day out, show them some love. Get them covered. Get them covered. Because they're there for you to make sure you have your doors open and you have that open sign on. Return the love.
Yeah.
Okay. Return the love.
Return the love and protect your moneymaker.
Protect.
Okay.
Protect
moneymakers. I have to keep these protected. And it's amazing because listen, and I'm not saying that we have to go to this extreme, but I look at certain celebrities. I look at J-Lo. She had her butt insured. Tina Turner had her legs insured. They were protecting their moneymakers.
Absolutely. And guess what, Stephanie? I offer that coverage.
All right. Get those legs and those butts protected, people, if that's your moneymaker.
Stephanie, even your voice is your money maker. Do you have that protected?
Right. It is so important. And that's good that you're bringing that up because you have a lot of singers that probably don't even think about that.
Yeah.
Or even people that model don't even think about having your legs insured, and or people that work with their hands, hairstylists, are your hands specifically insured? Things of nature. But you offer those. You can offer them those services, right?
Absolutely. And one more thing I want to touch on because this is important when it comes to the company that was there at the event, the Home Network.
Home Care Network.
Long-term care. We must get educated about this. We must talk about it, because as women, again, one of our roles is going to be caregiver. It doesn't matter if you're single, you're married, divorced, it doesn't matter. Caregiving is going to fall on women. And especially if you're in that sandwich generation where you have kids, where you're taking care of them, then you're taking care of elderly parents, whether it's your husband, your mother-in-law, or whomever that you're caring for, and you got to take care of yourself. In Texas alone, if we're talking about semi-private care for nursing home or facilities, we're talking annually $97,000.
I believe it.
For a private room, we're talking over $100,000. And we don't want to think about state facilities, because then we're talking about the quality of care.
Yes.
Now, Stephanie, I'm just going to ask you this question. How, if God forbid, but how would you want to recover when you come up in age? Do you want to be at home in the comfort of your home?
Yes. Yes.
And if you cannot perform the 5 basics that they talked about to take care of yourself, when you like to know that you got the coverage that covers long-term care, where you can call Home Health Network and have somebody to come in, and you have that peace of mind that they're going to take care of you in the comfort of your home.
Yes, yes. And that's exactly what Home Care Network does. They take care of persons that need health care at home. That's why they say bringing healthcare home. So that is very important that you bring that up, that people should plan for that, because we did have to put my mother in a nursing home, and it was expensive. It was $4,000 a month, but thank God we had everything planned to where we didn't have to pay that out of pocket, because we wouldn't have been able to, and that was after Home Care Network did come in. They did care for my mother for a long time. They did a great job. So shout out to Home Care Network. But when we did have her there, thank God that there was some planning, because it is expensive. And if you can't afford that and you want somebody to come to your home, you have to plan for that. And there are services out there like Home Care Network that will take care of those that need it, but you got to plan for it. So, yeah.
And also, back on answering, when you're filling out that application for insurance, those questions do come up. And you want to think about it too, especially when they ask about your immediate family members. Have they had cancer, stroke, diabetes? Or what I usually ask my clients as we're applying for income protection, I go further. Is there anybody in the immediate family that had to be placed in a nursing home? On both sides of the family, anybody. Because in the event, not wishing that on them, but you better start planning for it, because it's in the family.
Yes.
Family. So be smart about it.
Business, asking your business. They're asking those questions for a reason.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. But we want everybody healthy. Yes. We want everybody doing well. We want to make sure that my mission is to make sure that you are whole financially as much as possible, so that you have that peace of mind, knowing that you're protected, you're covered, and you're also going to protect the ones you love.
So that's bottom line. So if you're asking, what does she mean that we're taking care of financially? She just said it, that you're covered, you're protected, and as well as your family, because we don't want to be a burden to our family. I just remember hearing my mother saying that for years. I don't want to be a burden to my family, to my children. And she had things prepared that, you know, when the time came, we knew what to do, you know. So that's what Miss North is telling us today. So, Miss North, someone out there, oh, you got one more thing. You got, well, come on, she has all this wealth of information. Tell us, Miss North.
I want to end on this, especially with business owners, when I work with them, small to medium business owners, as well as enterprises. When it comes to these PPP loans,
Okay.
I do have products that will help in terms of collateral assignment, because you want that added coverage for tax purposes. You don't want to leave any money on the table. And in the event when the person passes away, the business may be sold, but you may have already designated, if you have a family, who's going to get what out of that business.
Right.
At least put a policy in place, a life insurance policy that will cover or pay off that loan for you.
Okay.
In the event you pass away, this loan could potentially pay off. The policy will pay off that loan for you. So again, that you keeping your hard-earned money in place so it can be distributed as the inheritance you want to your family members. Please call me about that. Let's discuss it.
Because we already know, Miss North, we hear all the time, someone dies and the family is fighting over whatever is left, the house, the clothes, the jewelry, the car, the business, the money in the banks. Families fighting over that because the person that passed did not have anything in place to say it's what.
Yeah. What I can offer from a life insurance standpoint is up to $10 million. With regards to the disability, I can offer up to $100 million for those hard to place cases. And again, when you're talking about your elite executives, high earners, top revenue producing companies, I can find a solution for you.
Okay. All right, Ms. North. So with all of that being said, and you have all of this information and all of these solutions, how can our listeners get in touch with you to get those solutions? Can you give us your website, your email address, your phone number, and any social media that you are on?
Absolutely. I'll be glad to. Phone number 833-755-5800. That's 833-755-5800. I am licensed in the state of Texas and Florida. Also, you can send an inquiry through my website, northfinancial.net. Not only send an inquiry, but there's a plethora of resources available to you. I have videos, I have resources, I have news articles, everything that will help you in planning for our initial conversation. Also, the best way to reach me social media, LinkedIn. I would love to connect with you. I am Debrah North. Hire Debrah Mathis is my handle, but you can find me Debrah North, and Debrah is spelled Debrah. That's Debrah without the O. So Debrah North. You can find me on LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook. Facebook is Debrah North Financial Professional.
All right, and email.
North Debrah, like north. You going north? Let's go north. NORTHD@financialguide.com.
All right, that's northd@financialguide.com. All right, Ms. Debrah North, thank you so much for being here on the Inspirational Diva Show on today, and we thank you for all of this information. And listeners, I really encourage you to make sure you give her a call. I have all of this information at the bottom of the screen so that you can make sure that you get in touch with her. And let's make sure that we are financially secure, not just for ourselves, but for our families as well. And don't forget, protect that moneymaker. with Miss Debrah North. So let's get it done. All right. Hey, it's time for us to do God's text message of the day. Before Sprint, T-Mobile, AT&T, or Metro PCS had text messaging, God had already given us the greatest text message of all, and that's the Word of God. And we need to find ourselves forwarding that word out so that others can be blessed by what God has to say to his people. And then we must reply to God's text message by applying it to our lives so that others can see God's good work in us. Today, God's text message of the day comes from James chapter 5, verse 16. And it's verse 16. And it says, confess your faults one to another and pray one for another that ye may be healed. The effectual fervent prayer of a righteous man availeth much. All right. So that's God's text message of the day from James chapter 5, verse 16. And Ms. North, we've heard that so many times. The effectual fervent prayer of a righteous man availeth much. That lets you know that prayer works. So let's pray for each other. Let's love on each other. All right. Ms. North, again, thank you so much for being here on the Inspirational Diva Show. Thank you all for tuning in. Don't forget, you can catch the Inspirational Diva Show brought to you by Home Care Network every Saturday at 10 a.m. on Facebook, Instagram, and on YouTube. Don't forget, everybody, that I love you. Jesus loves you, and there ain't a thing you can do about that. Until next time, y'all be blessed. And don't forget, you can also catch us on dfwigospel.com. Hey, all right, y'all be blessed. Bye.
Home Care Network brings healthcare in the comfort of your home. Our skilled nurses can cover everything that you would get in a hospital, from wound care management, pulmonary and cardiac care, medication management, and physical, occupational, speech therapy, x-rays, and more. Home Care Network has 3 locations in DeSoto, Rockwall, and Palestine. Visit homecarenetwork.com or on Facebook at Home Care Network TX. Home Care Network, the care you need in the comfort of your home.